Welcome to Binge Theory, the coolest one on the internet. I'm your humble host, Julian, and this is the Zack Snyder cut of panels. We have Brianna.
Hello.
We have Kenny.
Hello.
And we have Logan.
Good morning, somewhere.
There you go. Everywhere's morning somewhere. And on this episode of Binge Theory, we're going to be talking about several things: topical, computers, tech, gaming, movies, TV shows, everything you could possibly hope for. Let's dive right in. Right off the bat, unfortunately, we have lost a great actor. Yaphet Kotto has died at age of 81. Now, I did not know his full, catalog of projects that he's worked on. The two that I most remember are when he was in Alien, the first one. He was an alien as one of the crew members, and the other one that I remember him in was Arnold Schwarzenegger's Running Man. He was a character actor on that, but he's been in a large, swath of movies. And just want to know if you guys had any familiarity with any of his other projects. Brianna, have you seen any other Yaphet Kotto projects?
Well, I didn't look at his full, IMDb or what he's worked on, but I've definitely seen Alien, so it's always sad to lose somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kenny, what about you? Are you a Yaphet fan, or did you know who he was when it was announced?
No, I wasn't sure who it was when it was first announced. I'd have to go look and see what I've seen. I've actually probably seen him in a number of movies, or TV shows. It's one of those, I don't always remember people's names. There's some that I do that stick with me, and then there's others that don't.
He's definitely a generational one because, his, big blockbuster films were in the early 80s. Mm-hmm. Again, Aliens and Running Man. Logan, you probably know one or two of his films.
I mean, I came across a couple of just more of his guest starring stuff. Growing up, we'd always catch kind of reruns of the A-Team or Hawaii Five-0 or Murder, She Wrote or things like that. So I remember just I can't say, I guess, honestly, that I remember him vividly enough to be oh, that's, call him by name, but definitely one of those kind of background character actors where it's oh yeah, I like him. I remember him, just kind of like that.
You got to be kidding me. A-Team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A-Team for sure.
That is a pull. Yeah. A-Team. Back in the 80s, they used to have a slew. And they must have all been in the same universe, or they were at least produced by the same company. Because, Magnum P.I., mm-hmm. A-Team.
A-Team and Knight Rider back to back, I remember for years I would watch.
And again, all you needed was a really cool car. And that was essentially it. You had the General
or
Lee.
A van.
You had the General Lee, you had Knight Rider, and you had, again, these are paramilitary, veterans in what, I'm sorry, looked kind of in a creepy van. It didn't look like a tactical vehicle by any stretch of the imagination. It looked like something you would see in Dazed and Confused, where they're going to pick up zigzags at the local store. But enough of that fun stuff. Moving on to the next topic, Avatar, which we all love, the movie with the blue monkeys, has recently decided to exceed the number that they were currently at. They were at number 2. Marvel Endgame, had reached 2.792 billion with a B revenue. A billion. Yes, and then I remember because and to be fair, Marvel did do an extended release to try and bolster their numbers to surpass Avatar. Well, Avatar wasn't going to wait for that. They're not going to let that lie. So Avatar decided to whip it out and go for a re-release in China. And we do know.
But I'm pretty sure this is the second re-release.
Yeah.
Because I remember going, because in 2009 is when the original one came out.
Yeah.
And then I remember seeing it a couple years after that. So this is like a re-release.
And they did the same thing for Titanic, I think. They re-releasing it. And so now Avatar has reclaimed the title at $2.8 billion in revenue. Now, Logan, what are your thoughts on this one-upsmanship, to be kind?
I mean, I understand the current climate we're in. Anybody is looking for anything to kind of, talk about or promote or do stuff. And there are still supposedly, 4 more sequels to this one hit being filmed, still, I guess. But I mean, to be honest, it's like this is. I mean, it's like a high school dick measuring contest. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, it's just, you're going to creep forward, and then I have Avengers will release somewhere else, and then Avatar, like at some point, it's just going to get so annoying. It's probably, I would think it might even detract some from the brand of just kind of being like, oh, I don't want to hear about this garbage. Or maybe that's just me.
Well, to be fair, 2 things. One, it was garbage before this. And yes, we all know that it was basically Dances with Wolves in body paint. That's the story. And 2, you always measure from the base. Okay, Kenny, what was your thought? What was your thought on the Sea Monkeys taking over the Avengers?
So I don't dislike the movie. I actually really like the movie, but it's interesting that they're both properties that are owned by Disney.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Disney's fighting themselves for what?
Well, you know what? If you fight yourself, you're bound to win. That is, I think that was Nietzsche.
I guess.
That said that.
So, yeah, I don't really pay attention or care much about like the box office numbers, so to speak, because I mean, I think it's either you like it or you don't. So,
True. But
I don't
again,
care if it does $1 billion in sales, cool. If it doesn't, if I still liked it, that's all I care about.
I mean, I think there are significant flaws the way they measure it too.
Yeah.
I was going to say, okay, so I remember back when it first came out, it was a big deal. It was in the news how it overtook, I think it was Titanic at the time. Because like Titanic was so much more ahead of any other movie. And then, of course, Avatar comes out. But with the 3D ticket prices being like several dollars more than the regular ticket price, like that automatically, it really isn't an apples to apples thing like then or now. Because I think Avengers did that as well. So it's like, yes, these are big production, huge movies, but at the same time, it's compared to something that just runs like a limited run in the US or something. It's like, honestly.
And then you even go back with, previous films, Casablanca or Gone with the Wind, or you're trying to then compare, money is a fluid kind of a thing. Inflation, exactly.
It's a huge
Money's
difference.
a fluid moniker. So that's great, but it means nothing. And I think that's where some of the big flaws come in of what's a better way to measure it. Is it, really just, how many people, how many seats were filled? Is it how many, is it accounting for inflation? Is that what really matters? Like everybody's going to try and pull whatever statistic they can to say, oh, well, we're the number one based on this. But if you're the number one movie that had Skittles sold in it, look, so what?
It should be who buys it afterwards, because that's like a nod to say, like, you really like this movie.
No, you're 100% right.
Sometimes that green light sequels, even when they don't do well in the theaters. So,
yeah, true.
Yeah, and you're 100% on that, Logan. Is based on, you and Brianna brought up an excellent point. Based on inflation, the monetary is ridiculous. It's a fluid marker. It should be number of tickets sold, not the amount of revenue generated.
Right.
And even that's fluid because there were more people around now than there were back in.
Right.
Sure.
Gone
more theaters, more people. Yeah, all that stuff.
Exactly. But again, to Logan's point, it is a metric based on phallic longitude.
Not to mention, like, I don't know how it was with Avatar, but I know for sure with comic book movies, you have fans that are going and seeing them multiple times,
several times.
Like I know a guy that watched it something like he watched Infinity War like 40 something times.
Yeah, Kenny, a friend.
So many times.
Oh my god.
No.
Friend.
He is a nerdy rapper guy. He goes by the name of Nem, N-E-M.
You're still not throwing me off the track, Kenny.
So but it was popular enough, and he was tweeting every time he went to see the movie that eventually the Russo brothers caught wind of it and gave him tickets to the premiere of Endgame.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you count? Like, he went and saw it like 40 something times.
Sure.
So how does that fall into the overall count towards?
And
the movie did $1 billion.
Well, you paid to go, so I guess they figure.
and I would say the same thing is applicable to Star Wars. A lot of and I'm talking the 70s Star Wars, people were going multiple times because there were no VCRs and there was no TiVo and Hulu and all the wonderful, made up names. All names are made up, by the way. That was proven by Thor. And it's definitely, you'll have those cultural events where people, it's almost like being famous for being famous. This is the highest grossing film because it's the highest grossing film and everybody's like participating in it. I'm not taking anything away from the fact that Avatar was groundbreaking. It was, special effects on par with none.
Oh, yeah.
It was definitely.
It was the first movie that IMAX 3D was the actual way to see it. They used it so well. It was the first one that was actually worth it to me.
100%. And
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just to add, I had to look him up right quick just to see. So he actually saw it more than I thought. He turned it into a Guinness World Record by seeing it 103 times in the theater.
The first Avengers movie?
Times. The Infinity War.
Wow.
103 times in the theater.
Right.
Interesting.
Got a Guinness World Record out of it.
That's
well,
wild.
I have seen also where they had marathons and stuff like that. And again, Guinness Book of World Records making an event out of something. It's definitely that. But I'm gonna make a bet that most people haven't seen it that many times. It just for Avatar, it feels like I saw it 170 times. But again, I'm dumping on Avatar only because it's there's a lot of issues I had with it. But I like Logan said, it was the first movie of its kind using the technology of its day, and it was just, I think so much was thrown into the production that very little was given in regards to the story and the script. It was not an original story.
It wouldn't have done anywhere near as well if it wasn't 3D. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's why I went both times probably. It's like, it's so cool. Like, everyone sees it. It's 3D.
I never got to see it in theaters because I was prepping for deployment. I was prepping for deployment.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't see it until it came out on Blu-ray. But luckily enough, the TV I had at the time, I had a 3D TV,
nice,
and I was actually able to watch.
See the at-home 3D experience.
Yeah,
wow,
but it was the visuals are what made it.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, again, yeah. I mean, to this day, a lot of those visuals still hold up. I mean, it's again, it surpassed anything that had existed regarding CG, and their mocap game was just ridiculous. And again, I pointed this. We did an episode where we talked about Avatar, a couple of years ago, and again, a lot of their money went into the production, so much so that your star was Sam Worthington, the guy that they were trying to make a star, but he never really was. It was
I liked him though.
He's not there. He's fine. Right? He is. I'm not saying he's bad. But you know what he always reminded me of? Like the older brother of the kid from Friday Night Lights and Fast and the Furious 2, Tokyo Drift.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Lucas Black.
Yeah, Lucas Black.
Wow, there you go. Yeah.
I like Lucas Black. He's fantastic in what he does.
Was not bad. And I'm just saying the Sam Worthington to me looks like just an older version. Looks like they should play brothers, quite frankly. That would be a movie I'd watch. There you go. And
there you go. Sam Worthington for Fast and Furious 10.
Yeah.
Look, we've got Dom's brother. We might as well throw some other brothers in. Why not?
Yeah, everybody's related. Nobody died.
Hey, there you go.
It's like a Marvel movie. It's pretty much like a Marvel movie. Oh, you're saying the universes are connected? Is that the wait a second?
That's the final tie-in.
Wait a second. My fingers in my ear. I think it's all connected. I think Fast and the Furious 8, Marvel Universe, Transformers, and G.I. Joe, it's all connected. You heard it here first. I think they're all part of the same universe. Anyway, yes, I think that Avatar is a subpar movie that wowed people with its effects. Let me ask you this. Do you think, and I mentioned this to you before, Logan, do you think that Avatar will blow minds again by doing the exact same thing, just doing it underwater and in the air more?
No, I don't think any movie really would or should blow minds again by doing the exact same thing. But I will say that I will absolutely go see it. And James Cameron is not the kind of individual who likes to repeat things for the sake of repeating things. He invents, he creates, he wants to push the envelope and see something different and use something that has never been used in a way that's never been done before to create whatever vision it is that he sees in his head. And his library of films has a fantastic track record of being able to do that. And I think in some ways, there may be almost a bit of a disservice being done to his creativity and intelligence by shooting all four of them at the same time, because he doesn't have the time between movies to iterate that technology and come up with the next amazing James Cameron invention. So shooting them all at once, I think the second one will probably, there will be something new and something different that he's done that will just make it above and beyond. But I'm almost concerned about if the story doesn't hold through the next four, how those advances won't be there. So will the three after number two be just doing them over again? And will that actually harm the entire franchise of sorts more than help?
Excellent point. I mean, how can you make these, leaps forward and narrative and production and value and bringing something new to the table if you're doing them all at the same time? That almost seems counterintuitive.
Exactly. And I mean, a decade's enough time to do it for one, but then you're stretching that one over four. And I mean, look, is he using even anything that The Mandalorian used with the volume or any of that kind of stuff to create things? And if so, that's also not new. So yeah, I'm concerned about actually the quadruple back-to-back shooting more than I am, will he wow us again?
And isn't that a little conceited? I'm going to do 4 movies.
Yeah, to outdo Lord of the Rings, I guess.
Yeah,
3 in a row.
Yeah,
like,
there is that, yeah.
But to be fair, Lord of the Rings is an established story where they were basically shooting a legendary story that's been around. Speaking of which, let's segue, because I love this, but I want to tie it into another one. So the thing we come away with is Avatar's trash, but it'll make a lot of money. New details are coming out for the Falcon Winter Soldier series that's coming out on Disney. One of the things I loved in the trailers that I've been seeing for it is there's a scene where the Falcon is talking to Winter Soldier and says, we're going to be fighting the big 3. And he's like, well, what are the big 3? Aliens, robots, and wizards. And he goes, what do you mean wizards? And he goes, wizards. And he goes, what? You mean like in a Hobbit? He goes, what? How do you know about the Hobbit? He goes, I read it when it came out in 1930. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was brilliant how it and again, just writing. I mean, who would think to make that banter and to throw out a reference like wizards? And then of course, Falcon had the closing line said, he goes, what about Doctor Strange? He goes, that's a sorcerer. He goes, sorcerer is a wizard without a hat.
Yeah.
Which, and that's the mic drop moment. You just can't deal with that. But
good.
But exactly. I mean, think of not only the fan service, but just they must have like some sort of a nerd, soliloquy course where, people just know how to write these witty rapports but have it relevant to the actual subject matter. I mean, who could tie in Lord of the Rings and Marvel? It's because they're all the same universe. I told you that. That's how it works.
It's kind of like a throwback to Captain America, the first Avenger. At the end, the after credit scene when Cap wakes up, they have the room and the environment made up to look like older, New York, and they have the baseball game playing on the radio, and that's the detail he catches, and is like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I was at that game."
Exactly.
And that was just poor on Shield's part. Like they couldn't have known when he went in the water and picked a game after that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and again, they probably were just like, get something from the 30s. He'll be fine, But again, I love that. That's how sharp Captain America was. And one of the things I learned about his, the Captain America character is that not only were his physical attributes, at peak for any human being, due to the serum, but his mental acuity was also unrivaled. But you never saw him as like a professor, super intellectual, but his brain, the synapses were like firing at such a rate. That's why they said that when he threw his shield, that it would bounce off of things and come back to him, because he was he was calculating the trajectory in his mind whenever he would throw it, like a pool master would, shooting a cue ball, and to that point he would always be just up to speed. He would always be able to catch up stuff. So I think they kind of played that down a little bit, but he was like literally the ultimate super soldier, mentally and physically. So that was interesting. But talking about the new series coming out, there are some new details that has been leaked on the interwebs about the Falcon Winter Soldier series. First of all, the series takes place 6 months after Endgame. So it's going to be, that's going to be the timeline. And that's good. So there's not a lot of time that passes. It's going to kind of pick right up there. Secondly, it is going to tie into 3 other upcoming MCU projects. Now, what are those going to be? Do you guys have any thoughts what those may be?
Yeah, I think that it's going to. So, hang on. Did it say that it's going to tie into projects that have already been announced, or just upcoming projects?
3 upcoming MCU projects. So
I could see it being like a transition of Sam Wilson, taking on the Captain America mantle. So you'd have the next Captain America coming out.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
So, and then hopefully they would keep the Winter Soldier. Maybe you start seeing them work together.
I think what they're alluding to is maybe obviously what I think they're going to let me go through some of these other topics, because I think this is going to answer your question a little more. They're also going to be answering in this series what happens to Steve Rogers. I think that the internet saying is that the first episode is titled like a funeral or something like that. So it could be that Steve Rogers passes away, and that's where it kind of picks up, and that'll be sad. But again, he got to dance.
Well, he was old in Endgame at the end of.
He was very old. He was very old. He was like a nonagenarian. Is that what you call it? It's not an octogenarian.
In his 90s. Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other thing is this will be post WandaVision as well.
Quite post.
Interesting. Yeah, these timelines are killing me. But yes,
I would say at least 4 or 5 months, probably.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, I want to see one of those diagrams of all the timelines, laid out. But yes,
up there somewhere.
It's. I wonder if they'll make any reference to that.
I wonder if it'll tie in to the next Spider-Man movie somehow.
Spider-Man would be my list of the 3. Yeah.
I see that because they did have the engagement with them at the airport, so they do have that chemistry.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brianna? I can see you're.
I have no idea. Do you think Black Widow? But that just doesn't seem like it'd be a good fit. I don't know.
I do.
I can't tell.
Really? You think Black Widow?
I think Black Widow, because I think Black Widow it can't just be a movie set in the past just for her sake. There has to be benefit and continuation in the moving forward. So whether it's her sister, whether it's Peggy Carter's niece who had something to do with it, or an older Peggy Carter who brings it forward. Like, I think there'll be some connection in Black Widow that will pay dividends in the current timeline. And it's just a way they can set it up and give her solo movie due at the same time.
Interesting.
What's interesting, though, because I was just reading about this. So WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier both will actually have taken place prior to Spider-Man Far From Home.
Mm-hmm.
Because Spider-Man Far From Home was post Endgame, and it is, I can't remember the time, but supposedly the Falcon and Winter Soldier will be pre Far From Home.
Okay, wait a second.
That can't be.
My brain hurts now. Okay, say that whole thing again, Kenny. Say that. Okay, you're saying.
So when Spider-Man Far From Home came out, right?
Yes,
it was after Endgame, because they referenced Tony Stark passing away.
Oh yeah,
but so what I was reading is supposedly Far From Home is far enough in the future that Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision will both have taken place prior to those events of Far From Home.
I can see that. Possibly, yeah. Well, okay, yeah. That I don't know if they'll tie it in, but I could definitely see it all happening within like a span of 3 years or 2 years. But because now, well, it'd have to be under 3 because this is all with him in high school. So I don't know if he's a senior in high school in Far From Home or Away From Home, or I Can't Find My Way Home, whatever that movie was. But anyway, I'm sure they're going to tie it in a brilliant fashion. Let me talk about some of these other points. Yes. It will touch on, or maybe not, and maybe that's the whole point, on what it means to be a Black Captain America. So will they address issues of race? And will they show that certain people, not that anybody out there would have a problem with it, but a Black, Captain America, and I guess the reaction to that. I'm really, really curious to see what that's going to look like. And it says there are already possibly plans for a season 2 of the series. So a lot of news is just trickling out. But again, this drops in 4 days, 3 days,
right?
So we're already primed and ready. We're going to be in there, and we're going to be doing an episode, as soon as we can, right after that, bringing it to you, good people out there in internet land. Exciting stuff. Are you all like excited for the episode, or do you have any hesitations? Do you think Disney is releasing too many things back to back?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We'll see. But I think it's interesting that there's rumors that the second season's already been, or is already in the talks, considering it's only 6 episodes long.
Maybe that's why maybe they're shooting it all at the same time.
They're saving
like
it.
Cameron.
It could be that they just realize that they have more story to tell or something.
True. But and again, I think that this episode is such a buddy thing. It doesn't really have to have like a. And who's the villain they're going against? It's Zemo, right? It's not a Thanos level villain that's going to be having worldwide implications. It's probably going to be more espionage and spy. So you can probably just run that and then go on to another story next season. I guess I'd call him a lower tier villain, not to. But yeah, I could see that being like a quote unquote A-team type thing. They're just going around solving crimes. Yeah,
I'm just looking forward to their banter. I think that'll be the best.
They're going to crack wise, and
oh my god, it's going to be wonderful.
I love that. So those are all the headlines. Awesome stuff. Let's go on to our. Oh no, forgive me. There is one final thing. Now we're going to basically override whatever this currently is, but Zack Snyder's Justice League is currently getting favorable reviews with the people that have been able to get early viewings on it. I think right now it's at like 76% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, again, the only real metric that matters is the one you get here, not with those jerks at Rotten Tomatoes. They're all on the take anyway. Everybody knows that. But so what are your thoughts? Are you surprised? Are you intrigued by I guess the early numbers on Justice League? Brianna, what are your thoughts? Were you expecting lower? Are you impressed? Are you still skeptical?
I'm optimistic. I've been binge watching all the DC stuff this week, so I just watched it last night, just like to make sure everything is fresh to really be able to compare. But we talked a little bit offline. Like, I'm just really glad that what did I say? I don't remember. People said how it's like feels shorter than the 4 hours that it is. And I was like, I feel like that really bodes well because, there's nothing worse than watching a 4-hour movie and just being miserable the whole time and wishing it was over. So it's like, I feel like pacing was a really big issue for me with a lot of the DC movies. So hopefully that's fixed this time and they can actually like flesh out the characters and, do what they need to do in the right way. So.
I've heard that too, is that, the consensus, at least right off the bat, is that it's better. It's just better. And it fills out a lot of the gaps in the storytelling from, it was Joss Whedon that did the last one.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, there you go. And Logan, you definitely said that this, for better, for worse, would be his, I guess, his version, which is what we needed.
Yeah, so. his version, his true vision, the director seeing the director's vision all the way out. And for that reason alone, I think it's worthwhile, and I think I know I will watch it. And I do have probably more hope than I think I would have had for it before, because one of the things about the whole movie theater experience is it being so many cooks in the kitchen and cutting this and appeasing the studio that, and really getting to, watering down that kind of singular vision. In this particular case, and I think we saw it a little bit with WandaVision too, when you're removed from the constraints of the theater going experience, and you have that kind of, complete control and time to let things breathe. In some ways, the audience isn't used to that. The audience isn't used to not being at this frenetic pace that some executive thinks needs to happen in a, 2-hour time frame or whatever the case might be. So I do wonder if, and the earlier reviews seem to possibly, see this through, that giving him the more time to kind of take a little bit longer and tell the story and build the relationships, 4 hours would never have seen the light of a movie theater in any way, shape, or form ever. It would have been his director's cut, but it would never have gotten to the theater. Now we're seeing it, and people want to see it, and they realize it may be the only chance to get to see what his vision would be. And in 4 hours' time, even a mediocre writer can condense a good story down in that time. 2 hours takes an exceptional level of talent. And there are a lot of movies that are made and a lot of people who probably think they do, and studios that bet on people who do, and ultimately maybe not so much. The wrong things are cut and it just doesn't work. But with the runtime of the show and the additional footage and the way he was able to recraft and tell his story, I am more optimistic even than I was before that this will be something worth watching.
Good points. No, good points. Kenny, what are your thoughts?
Well, like I said before when we had this discussion, I echoed Logan's sentiments about like finally getting to see like what the director's true vision was for the movie, and I think that in and of itself is a reason to watch it. So that being said, yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Think it releases on Friday. So yeah, I'm working from home, so I'll probably put that on.
So do you think this is all coincidental that it's going head to head with Falcon Winter Soldier?
Maybe, but I think that I honestly think you could release a DC and a Marvel movie on the same weekend, and they would still do the business they were going to do.
I think the bigger thing for the releases is probably not hitting any of the other theatrical movies they're repurposing for HBO Plus than it has anything to do with them considering Marvel in any way.
That is true. True. So, Kenny, you're saying that it's a battle between Marvel and DC. Got it. That'll be.
Yeah.
No,
it is not a battle between Marvel and DC because Marvel just
gotcha. It's a blood feud. I hear you 100%. And we'll put that on the thumbnail. Is that this is a battle royale, a Thunderdome, if you will, between. Sure. Yes, that's Kenny. Good work. Yeah, that's what we're calling it. Moving on, because we have so many things here, and this is going to be a good one. Logan had brought to our attention the Terminator anime Netflix series. I didn't know about this, but Logan, please regale us with Cyberdyne's Dark Fate, and just to do a callback, Cameron did have his fingerprints all on Terminator Dark Fate. Mm-hmm. So he did kind of go back into his universe and double dip, if you will.
True. He did try and double dip there. I think to some extent he may have just been trying to correct so many wrongs that had been done with Terminator.
Speaking of Zack,
which I can't say I blame him for that, though I don't know that it worked. Anyway, so Terminator is an anime series at Netflix. It was also Mattson Tomlin who was going to executive produce, who just did I don't know if you saw it, Project Power with Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Absolutely.
That was another underrated Netflix movie that I really, really liked. Being able to kind of take the Terminator and stretch it into, it's never really been in animation that I'm aware of before. So being able to expand a little bit into that. And I always think of the Animatrix when the Matrix did their whole anime kind of exploration of stuff, and it was insightful and ethereal and let it kind of try things that hadn't been done. I'm excited to see the Terminator in that too. It looked it was something I had not even heard of until surprise.
I think you did the nail on the head with animation allows you to do so many things, with directing and storytelling, and and you don't get all caught up in the spectacle of, ooh, there's a robot, because it is what it is, and it's more about the fluidity and the presentation. And I love that you brought up the Animatrix. That was, in my mind, that they should have just left it at that and not even gone to Revelations or whatever that third one was.
Reloaded and Revelations, yeah.
Well, Reloaded was not bad, because they had the freeway scene, which again was groundbreaking for its time.
I don't know. I was a fan of the Underground Rave. I thought that was
that's the weirdest scene of any scene I've ever seen.
What was that? Is that was the Insane Clown Posse before the Insane Clown Posse?
Are you talking about the scene where they
if you don't remember it, you're not gonna remember it. They're like
I remember the Matrix movies very well. I just don't.
It's the last dance party in that giant cave.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's also funny because Morpheus is just like talking like in a normal voice, and then it pans out and there's just thousands of people. I'm like, why isn't he shouting? Like, that annoys me so bad when it doesn't match. Like,
magical.
He's just on a green screen, just standing there, probably on an Apple box, just talking to the crew.
Exactly.
It's just funny.
Yeah. And again, I love how they're in a cave, and it's not like deafening that this reverberation and stuff. And
they're like, let's send a message to the machines. We're all gonna die tomorrow anyway. It's so weird. Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That place had to have.
Yeah, let's rave. Humanity. All right.
Yeah, there was not a lot of ventilation. That place had to have a lot of. But yes, to that point, the Revelations, not the best film, but they are making a Matrix 4.
They are.
So
I'm so confused about that, just because like everything how it ends.
So what you guys haven't heard is Matrix is really going to be tied into the John Wick universe.
Yeah,
I'll give you that one.
right.
Yeah.
there you go.
And the dog turns out to be the cat.
Oh yes, there's a glitch.
The glitch.
Yes, you see two dogs.
Uh-huh.
Oh, amazing stuff. Okay, well, moving on to our next exciting topic. There is a phenomenon that all the kids are doing on the internet. It's a game that I'm too old to appreciate, but some of you out there with your Game Boys and your whatever, Wii.
Mobile phones.
Yes, yeah, with your the machine, the small machines you have on your mobile devices, all those things. Brianna is, our de facto expert on all things based on this subject. It is called Among Us. And Brianna, what is Among Us?
Well, I'm ashamed because I haven't actually played it, but I've seen a lot of playthroughs and a lot of people do like charity live streams and stuff. But basically, it's like I think there's 2 different maps that you can do, but I guess the basic premise, I think there can be up to like 10, maybe a little bit more people, and basically the computer like randomly assigns you as either crew or an imposter. So you can have up to I think 2 imposters. Well, it can be
only one. Okay.
If it's larger though, they can do up to 2. Yeah. And basically the crew members, they have to either complete their task or try to find out and kick out the imposters before the imposters get them. So it's like, I don't think the actual phases are timed. It's just like whoever happens upon a body first will report it, and then you like talk to each other. So you can do it actually by text, but I don't see how people do it that way, because like if you have a microphone and you're like, know the people you're playing with, especially, like you can try to pick up if they're lying. You're like, I know that you came from this direction, like what were you doing over there? And like sometimes people will just be caught like blatantly in their lies, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, you caught me. So it's just one of those like fun kind of, innocent games and whatnot about murder, I guess. But it's a good story. Just the developers, I think it had been around for about a year or 2 before, last year when everything happened, like all of a sudden, I think these streamers started playing it and it just blew up like almost overnight, like everyone was playing it. So it was kind of a cool, like small developer, just like they had to like work overtime to try to make sure they could keep up with the server stuff, like, just people having fun and interacting and feeling less alone with this game. So it's cool.
And then came the memes.
Yeah, there's tons of memes. There's merch now all everywhere.
The whole sus thing is about being suspect.
Yes, if you hear anyone saying like, yeah, he was sus, it's because they're like trying to say that the imposter, like you're acting like an imposter. But the more you play it, the more like, okay, like it's almost easier to catch people in a lie if you know more about the game, because you're like, wait, this task is up in this corner and you said that you were down here. So it's a lot of just scheming. Like, I don't know if you guys ever played the card game Mafia. That's kind of what it reminds me of, just in a like more sophisticated manner, like with technology instead.
Yeah.
Isn't there another game similar to that? I think it's called Werewolf or something like that. It's not a card game, but it's kind of like one of those things where one of you is a werewolf, and you ask
probably I'm sure there's many iterations.
Yeah, you ask questions, but I like that whole. I didn't know anything about that. That premise is that one of you is a mole, or
So like Brianna was saying is, so when you're playing around a match, the computer randomly assigns someone in the group as the imposter. So if you're the imposter, your job is to sneak around the map and try to kill the other people.
And pretend like you're working.
But you're pretending like you're doing tasks. Everybody on the crew side, that's their job, is to try to complete this list of tasks that they have. So there's different rooms around the map. They might have to go, refuel an engine. They might have to go download some files and move them to another room. So it's very interesting though, like, because I can see how people develop strategies for being the imposter, as well as strategies on how to identify an imposter. Like when you're on the crew, how to approach identifying who the imposter is.
Very cool. No. I'm sold. I'm definitely gonna look into, what's this called? Outside of Us in
Among Us.
Among Us.
Yep.
He's just joking. He's being
I'm writing it down. Absolutely.
Sure.
Cool. But so see, now we're relevant. See, we're doing on to the next topic. There is a new CW trailer that just dropped for Kung Fu. And, Logan brought this to our attention. I did not see the trailer, but
Dude.
Logan is an expert at explaining things
Wow.
in an eloquent manner. So, Logan, tell us about what is Kung Fu?
So this Kung Fu looks like it's I can't tell if it's quite a reimagining or just a reimagined sequel of sorts. There was a 90s TV show, Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, which was with Keith Carradine. I think it was Keith Carradine, and I forget who played his son, but it was from the Kung Fu movie that was I don't even know when that was. But a while even back. But this series in particular is a CW series, so you can be assured everybody is unrealistically pretty. And it follows a quarter-life crisis, they say, of kind of like a young Chinese-American woman who drops out of college and goes on a life-changing journey to where else but an isolated monastery, because monasteries are there for your crises. When she returns, in however long it takes her there to find herself, her hometown is kind of overrun with crime and corruption and all the things that allows her to use these skills that she has just conveniently learned at this monastery that was conveniently there for her during her convenient crisis. I say this a little tongue-in-cheek. Yeah. I'll probably end up watching it because I did like the series and the movies were entertaining as well. But it's just, trying to, use her martial arts skills she learned and her Shaolin values to kind of protect her community and bring everybody to justice and have a happy ending in the end. There are some interesting, besides just kind of, the story itself, it is kind of executively produced by Greg Berlanti, who was involved in all of the general Arrowverse kind of a mastermind there. So the fact that he's involved in this certainly I think lends to a generic, like a base level of quality that you can kind of expect from it. Hanelle Culpepper, who actually won, what was it? I think it was a Directors Guild Award for her directing work on the premiere episode of Star Trek Picard. And she's done some fantastic work behind the camera. As well as Martin Giro, who did a lot of work that I remember on, it was Stargate Atlantis and SG-1. He did a lot of work on kind of the Stargate TV series then. And he just, actually he worked on Dark Matter, I think, too, and a few other things. But just lots of good names kind of behind the screen, as well as an interesting, enough premise on the screen. And really, one of those taking a kind of a safe bet. The series lasted for the original series in the 90s. The Legend Continues lasted a number of seasons. The movies and kind of that memory of Carradine kind of stayed in everybody's mind. So I think this is, probably what they would see as kind of enough of a surefire hit and a memory. But also kind of a new spin and a new take on it that they can kind of catch the contemporary culture with it and hopefully end up with a hit in their hands.
And forgive me, so this is taking place at what time?
This is taking place, I believe, contemporarily. So nowadays.
Okay.
Yeah, current.
You think it might have been kind of riding the wave of the Karate Kid franchise re-releases? Or, because they dusted that old property off and we're making a mint on it.
I think that could certainly be one. Hollywood has never been particularly fond of taking an entirely new concept and, fully backing it to try and create something new. Sure. They would rather play with an established idea.
Yeah.
They're going to tweak that idea to see if they can make it new and fresh and not, Dances with Wolves with Blue Aliens. But they're going to try and play with something that has already existed because they know it worked once. How do we make it work again? Because it's a safer bet they see. And I think this is as much that as, all right, well, like you said, Karate Kid kind of worked. The Hawaii Five-0 remake just did 7-8 seasons, good or bad, neither. That besides the point. It lasted, I think, longer than the original series did. So these kinds of slight remakes for contemporary audiences are a pretty safe cash cow, as much as we may grumble about it.
And forgive me, I didn't watch. I was thinking of Magnum PI.
Magnum PI is one. MacGyver was on CBS. That remake of MacGyver that went, I think that still might be even ongoing. How many Sherlock Holmes remakes have we had? I mean, these kinds of things are not new. So I don't know that pointing to one might necessarily be, the all answer for this one. But it's just a Hollywood concept that just they continue to repeat over and over.
Well, yeah, again, to that point is, if you have a car, you just, put a new chassis on it, you do some tweaks here, you give it a new coat of paint, and look, it's a new car. No, It's the same car you had for 10 years, but, there's a new consumer base for it. So why the heck not?
New for 2021.
Exactly. It's a new model. Same story, new model. That's the catchphrase. And has anybody else seen or heard about this? Kenny,
Brianna. I watched the trailer, unlike our humble host. But it looks good, and I did notice because I hadn't heard of Hanelle Culpepper before, but looked her up, and so she had done, like Logan mentioned, she had directed on Star Trek Picard. She's done work on Star Trek Discovery, as well as some episodes of The Flash and Supergirl. So she's been around CW and worked on those shows. So, I'm excited to see where it goes. And I think similar to what Logan mentioned is this is basically just going to be an updated version of the original Kung Fu of David Carradine in the 70s. And, so she's just going to solve problems with Kung Fu.
Every week is a new mystery, and they solve it without a gun. I'm just quoting the whole Once in a Time in Hollywood that Quentin Tarantino did when. No. Where I'm literally describing the scene from Bruce Lee, the legend, where he was talking about, you're pitching the idea of Kung Fu, and then they gave it to somebody who's a little less Asian. So there you go.
You're talking about Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, yes. Not Bruce Lee,
they're pitching it, and they end up giving it, which is kind of pretty much what happened.
Yes, that's it. That sounds exactly like Hollywood. At least back then. Now they're trying to be a little more better, but it's still Hollywood. Good stuff. No, I'm going to definitely put that on the radar, and hopefully we can do some reviews. And if I can commit to actually watching it and doing my job.
If you can commit to watching a CW show.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. And to me, that's a good point. I need to go outside of my comfort level of Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon, and Hulu, and come down, a few.
Superman and Lois.
Superman and Lois. I heard.
Aren't all the CW shows on Netflix now?
All of the CW shows are actually on just the CW website.
Yeah.
For I think the last 5 are usually on their website and their app as well, which is no cost. But cool. Yes, they do, or at least did have a distribution agreement with Netflix that they do end up there, though usually after the series has come to an end. Or this particular season of the series has come to an end.
See, I get confused with because Warner Brothers has done all the Zack Snyder, DC characters. But the other DC characters on CW, they're not under Warner Brothers?
They are Warner Brothers properties, obviously. This is actually being produced by Warner Brothers Television as well. But the deal that Greg Berlanti, I believe, has with kind of his producing production kind of house is that the deal had been going to Netflix. But at the same time, there hadn't really been HBO Max in the way there has been. So this could be a, Marvel TV way of they're just letting the contract run out to bring it back to HBO because, let's be honest, it should be there.
That makes sense. No, thanks for that clarification. Yeah, it's and I think HBO is making a play, and I think they're making a go of it, quite frankly. Because before I was looking at their stuff, and they had some great HBO shows that I'd love to watch. But they didn't have the Netflix level of content. So it looks like they are trying to snatch up all the remaining properties and bring them under the umbrella. Let's move on. So there are these things that came out way before the internet called books. And people used to hold them and read them, and they had paper that were made from old trees. Logan.
You mean like those things on the shelf behind you?
Exactly. Yeah. all of these real books behind me.
Yeah.
Yes. See, these are books, virtually. And Logan, can you tell us what are some of the most anticipated books of 2021?
So, I was, scrolling around the internet because, what do you do when you're bored or trying to ignore something else you're supposed to be doing? And
you read books.
You read books, or you read articles online about books. And
same thing. Yes.
This one in particular, we'll link it down below, came from Oprah's magazine, of all places. But it was kind of the list of kind of the best books being looked forward to of 2021. And one of the things that I noticed about this was how many actors and other people who don't typically write the books, but they're normally acting out the movie version of the books, were kind of writing their own stories. Ethan Hawke has a book coming out. Sharon Stone has one. Gabriel Byrne. A lot of actors who I was typically used to seeing more than reading are actually up on this list. Gabriel Byrne has a memoir coming out called Walking with Ghosts. So I kind of dealing with just how he as an actor kind of dealt with finding his way in theater and leading to Hollywood and his kind of, I guess, a life story, as you will.
I saw Cicely Tyson was on the list.
Cicely Tyson was on there. Yeah, she has one, Just As I Am, that's coming out, talking a little bit about her. It's an autobiography. So her, years being a teen mother, model and actress, marriage to Miles Davis, all sorts of stuff. A lot of these books, they kind of struck me as those, beach reads, those ones where like you want to just kind of go outside and curl up in a hammock or on a beach or something and just, dig into a little bit of escapism. Ethan Hawke has one coming out, A Bright Ray of Darkness, which is actually, I believe, his fourth or fifth book. I've read and seen a couple of ones that he's done on kind of acting and directing with, more nonfiction stuff. But yeah, this is his fifth book. Fifth book.
That's a different book.
It's a different one. Talking about a kind of a fiction story of a 32-year-old thespian who's imploding private life. His failed marriage is kind of dealing with tabloids and his personal issues and redemption and etc. Really kind of talking about, perils and pitfalls of celebrity. And in some ways, what better a person to write about it than a celebrity who's had to probably deal with some of that.
I guess, but I think it's so silly. I know it's Ethan Hawke writing that, so I would never read it just because, yes, they can provide like insight and write what but for some reason, that always bothers me when it's like, in movies too, that like, here's all this movie about film, like taking place in film production. I'm like, well, that's kind of cheesy to me, but
a little too meta, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm a fan of Ethan Hawke. I mean,
He's
I've
a good
never,
actor. I have nothing against him.
yeah, I've never read any of his works. I'm a fan of his acting. Maybe his writing is uh, self important drivel, but I might be interested. You know what? And maybe, possibly, in the future, at some unspecified date, we can start doing book reviews, and Brianna can read the Ethan Hawke book.
Yeah, you're like first up, the Ethan
Exactly.
Hawke.
No.
Like, no.
But I like this list. I'm sorry, Logan. Keep going. I'm looking at these with you. These are some interesting titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm picking out some of the more, actor kind of driven ones. One of the other ones that I'm actually looking at picking up that just came out, Clara and the Sun. I'm going to hopefully not butcher his name too horribly, but Kazuo Ishiguro. I've read a number of books of his in the past. He did one, what was it called? I'm blanking on it. Never Let Me Go. That's what it was. They turned it into a movie adaptation. It was fantastic. Just a beautiful, beautiful story. Kind of dystopian science fiction of sorts. Received a number of awards and stuff at the time. Unfortunately, giving a synopsis kind of spoils it, so I won't do that for anybody's sake. But it was a fabulous story, and just one of those ones that you can read one book sometimes, and it puts that author on your list for like the rest of time, where it's like, okay, there's another one, and so yeah, I this one. Again, I had never heard of it, but when he's talking about kind of, I guess Clara, kind of an artificial friend, which to me is kind of science fiction to start, smiles and nods to people, and the people, a mother and daughter adopt this particular artificial friend, what happens and emotions and creature, created individuals or creatures becoming real. Like, this just seems right up his alley, and I am very much looking forward to this one. And actually, it says in the title he's already won the Nobel Prize in literature at least once in his life. So this should be I'm looking forward to this one, I think, most of all.
To be fair, Logan, I won that prize too. It's not that prestigious. No, I'm joking. No, it does sound. I mean, you're really selling it. I like it. I also see here on the list, "The Beauty of Living Twice" by Sharon Stone.
Mm-hmm.
I might be interested in that, only because for those that aren't aware, Sharon Stone suffered a stroke several years ago, but she's been very vocal about her dealing with it and fighting through it. And I'm just really, I always like things like that deal with a person overcoming adversity. So that I would find really interesting. And again, of her time, probably one of the lead actresses, in Hollywood. I mean, if you're thinking about Basic Instinct, and I mean, I hate to say it, but there's only two real, pinnacle films she was in. One was Casino, acting opposite Robert De Niro, and the other one was Basic Instinct, acting opposite Catherine Zeta-Jones's husband. And those were very, very good roles that she just nailed. And she was also in Total Recall as Arnold Schwarzenegger. And oddly enough, very good in that schlocky 80s action. It was an action film, and she pulled it off. So she's done murder, suspense, action, and the other one that I completely forgot that I just said. Oh, Casino, drama. So there you go. Three skills. Any other good ones in this list?
It seems like the actors have done pretty much memoirs. Juliana Margulies has done one, Sunshine Girl. Kind of just going through her life and stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's easier. I feel like the what is it? The write what you know is what your creative writing teacher would always say. So if you know about yourself, or you know about the acting, or whatever else, that's probably a good place. And the last one, I don't know if it was just because she's been so front of mind, at least in the political arena, but it's by Stacey Abrams, of all people, While Justice Sleeps. And apparently it's kind of drawing on her experience in politics, creating a fictional story around, some sort of, dealing with Supreme Courts and mysteries and political intrigue and stuff like that.
I didn't even think it was going to be fiction. I thought it was going to be like a
no. Apparently, it's fiction.
It's a mystery.
Yeah, this protagonist, I guess his or her name, I don't actually know which one it is. Her. Avery is coming into her own as she pieces together the conundrum of what her boss, a controversial justice who's fallen into a coma, has been investigating and where it will lead her. So, taking what you know and turn it into fiction.
Wow.
Can't argue with that, but yeah, I did not expect to see that one of all of them on the list.
I'm looking at that now. Wow.
Yeah.
A real life Georgia superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. No, I love this. And I, you know what? I'm sold. I think we should definitely start having some, book binge, and that's copywritten. You can't have that. So, no, I love that. This is great stuff, Logan. I definitely, we can start doing reviews of these books and, posting them on social just so people can, and again, the link will be in the description below on this. So good stuff. Good stuff. Moving on to our next segment, something a little less intellectual, but not the less entertaining. This is something that Brianna brought to our attention about Xbox. And Brianna, can you fill us on what the box is up to?
Yes. So this was huge news.
Do they call it the box? Do they call it the box? No.
I don't think anyone calls it.
I was trying to start something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But this was an acquisition that everyone kind of knew was coming for a couple of months. I think they even at least officially had talked about it, but last week, basically all of everything was approved, from every level needed. I don't know how all that stuff works, but so Xbox acquired Zenimax, which is the parent company of Bethesda Softworks, which is someone I'm super familiar with. If I think Bethesda, I think of Fallout and Elder Scrolls, but this includes all of their studios, which I don't know how many, but it's a ton of studios. But they also do Rage, Doom, Dishonored, Wolfenstein. I mean, it's a ton. So it's pretty big news. And then the discussion turned to, now that Xbox owns them, does that mean that all of their titles are going to be exclusive? Because that's usually how it works. I mean, that's why they acquire them, so that it forces people to buy whatever console, whatever Game Pass, whatever. But I'm a little upset just because I don't have a PC that I can play Game Pass really feasibly. And I sold my Xbox for the PlayStation 5. So I will eventually have to figure something out because the next Elder Scrolls game will come out in the next couple of years. They have a new IP called Starfield that everyone's really excited about. And then that's just one or two of the studios. So then they have all this other stuff. So, it was, I think, $7 million or $1 billion. But anyway, it was a lot of money, but I think it's money well spent. Xbox now has 23 game studios as opposed to PlayStation's 13, which is interesting because PlayStation is always kind of known for their high level exclusive games. So to me, this almost shows Xbox is at least trying to compete with that by getting some really well-known studios. So it's pretty interesting. But I've loved Bethesda since, probably the college years. I think when Oblivion came out when I was in college, and so I bought my PlayStation 3 to play it. So they've always had a soft spot. So big news.
Yeah, no, that's big news. Yeah. And for those out there, you need to like, share, and subscribe so Brianna can get a computer so she can play.
Yeah, either an Xbox or some kind of PC.
Yes. No, I love that. I need to. And Brianna, would it be fair to say that PlayStation, and Xbox are in a blood feud? Is that what you're saying?
It's always been that way. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I follow a ton of people just even on the production side on Twitter, and it's just constant, whatever marketing shtick happened even, I think, going back about that far, a couple decades now. It's like the PlayStation versus Xbox, or yeah. So it's constantly pitting against each other. And even though I fall into the category of like, play whatever you want on whatever you want, it doesn't matter. Like, I personally like PlayStation more just because I like their like single player games. So that's just what I like. And there's other people that like other things. So that might be on Xbox instead. So
it's a very diplomatic way of saying it. So, yeah. So PlayStation versus Xbox. I like where your head's at.
To the death. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'll add PlayStation over Xbox.
Oh, controversy. that is a definitive statement, Ketty. No, I
don't.
Strong.
I'll claim PlayStation all day long. And I actually started off like with the first gen Xbox. Like when it came out, I bought it. But what sold me on PlayStation was around the time the PS3 came out. I had not been sold on it. But realizing that, or when I found out to play, because I wanted to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare had just come out. And I was interested in playing, but when I found out it was pretty much the only way to have a lot of fun was playing online in the multiplayer. So Xbox, you had to pay for Xbox Live.
That's right.
Just to get online, whereas PlayStation would offer the PlayStation Network for free.
They used to.
They used to. Now you're still connected to the PlayStation Network. When you log in, when you turn your PlayStation on, you log in, you're connected to the PlayStation Network. So you're getting your updates, all your stuff is still there. You're just not gonna get to play multiplayer like you used to. But it was enough back then that it just kept me on PlayStation. So I went from I bought the PS3 back then. That was around 2007, 2008, and then I bought my PS4 in 2014. And as soon as I can find one in stock somewhere, I'll buy a PS5.
Good luck. It's so
yeah,
hard.
I can't. You can't find them.
In other gaming news, the stock is still horrible.
But so when I was looking at this, I thought it was interesting because my first thought was exactly what Brianna mentioned, which was the whole exclusive, making, all the Bethesda games or, all the other studio games exclusive to Xbox. And it made me wonder, like, are they really going to go that route? Because that would be an interesting move. Because right now there's like, at least from the Bethesda side, they're saying that nothing's going to change in the near future. They're just going to be continuing to release their games, but they have more Microsoft support behind them for development, which is actually made me like think about Codemasters, which is who develops the Formula One game, and they have a couple others like Dirt and I can't remember the others, but they have a whole catalog of games as well. And when EA bought them last year, that's kind of what's come out since then. Is EA is not actually producing the game. Codemasters is still going to continue to produce it and control all the content. EA is just basically supporting them, throwing more resources their way. Now, I'm sure that comes with some agreement. I'm sure things are going to change in the game that align more to, EA. And I could probably see something similar for this whole Xbox acquisition of Zenimax. The games may stay released on both platforms, but there's going to be, interesting aspects to the games based on what Microsoft wants.
Yeah, well, they did actually, I meant to say this, they did like a press thing afterwards or something, and they said some new titles will be only on Microsoft platforms. But again, they're not really saying which ones, so I would think it's either like the smaller ones, maybe everywhere, but I'd be surprised if like the big name ones weren't Xbox exclusive from here on out, because again, they dumped all this cash. So they're not really gaining anything by letting PlayStation have it or anything else. So
but they're losing. So in the whole console wars thing, from my experience, is people don't shift consoles lightly. Now, what I do know is a lot of the hardcore gamers, they have all the platforms. They have a PC for PC games, they have an Xbox, and they have a PlayStation. Those people will continue to buy whatever. But like people like me and even some of my friends that are either Xbox or PlayStation, I'm not gonna
It'll
shift to
hurt
Xbox.
people. Yeah,
Like,
it's expensive.
I'll just be like, if you don't want to release Fallout on PlayStation, cool. Then I'm not gonna buy it.
But I like have to buy Elder Scrolls. Like I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan, so I don't know what I'm gonna do.
But wasn't Elder Scrolls on PC also?
Yeah, it used to be. That's why I was actually surprised. They were one of the groups that I thought would never sell because they've been multi-platform forever. So, yep.
Yeah, so that works out for me. Like of the 2 hours a month I actually have to play a game, I don't have money or time to devote to either console, so it's only PC for me. Yeah. So if it doesn't come on a PC and it, look, and I, don't feel that there's value out of it in a very, very short period of time, PC is the only way to go for anything I've got.
Yeah, time is always a factor. I have, I think the PS4, and right now it's a condo for dust bunnies. So that's
a lot of PlayStations, though.
Yeah, no, I'm Team PS all the way, and because as Kenny has said, and this is a quote, in the console wars, Xbox versus PlayStation, the sequel. Good stuff. No, that's really interesting. Curious to see how that plays out. Let's talk about something else. The next topic, and I think this will be our final one of the day, is what we are currently binging. We haven't done one of these in a while, but I think it's always fun just to find out what people are, consuming unhealthy amounts of to fill the emptiness within themselves. So I always tee it up for you, Logan. I'll start with Kenny. Kenny, what are you binging these days? Any medium. It doesn't have to be movies or TV. Anything that you're doing in large amounts.
Two things is golf. So one is golf. Like I started getting back into golf over the past couple of years. I only played like maybe 6-7 rounds over the past 2 years, and then in last fall I decided to start taking lessons, and then probably like once every 2 weeks I've been going. I just played my first round of the year last weekend. And I actually I've improved quite a bit. I still have work to do, but outside of playing and practicing and going to lessons, I've been watching a lot of golf. I also have found a ton of YouTube golfers, which we were talking about earlier. It's interesting. Like I've been pleasantly surprised with the amount of like golf related content I was able to find online. That's pretty informational. So there's that. The other one is I got the game when it came out on PlayStation 4 earlier this year. It's not just on PlayStation. It was all console all the consoles. It was Marvel's Avengers. And actually it wasn't earlier this year. It was last year, 2020. Sorry. I think it was like May of 2020 when it came out.
Yeah, I think it was right before the wheels came off of society.
And I bought that, and I think I played maybe 45 minutes of it, and then just life, things changed and work got crazy, and I just haven't had a chance. And then here recently, over the past month, I've actually been playing. So I just finished the campaign the other day.
What do you think about it? Because it got bad review.
Yeah, I will say, because like I have said before on this show, I am a very casual gamer, so I played it on easy, so I can, I'm not wasting a ton of time. But yeah, the overall storyline, it started out really well, with the whole premise of it is you start off as Kamala Khan, who is, Miss Marvel, and she's, basically a teenager that's a Avengers fangirl, and she gains powers, and she basically realizes that there's a bad person out there that's wanting to do harm to people, and that the Avengers need to help them. So she goes out on this kind of quest to like reassemble the Avengers. And very early on, it's very interesting. And then about 3/4 of the way through, you just start unlocking like the rest of the cast or the rest of the characters. And it just got where there was less like fighting and more dialogue but it didn't make sense. And then the end was way too quick. The end was, I was caught off guard because I was like, but hang on, that's the end. Like
the credits are rolling. Like what's happening?
Yeah, like it's like I didn't think that was the end. Like I didn't feel like the end. That was way too quick to be the end. So, but I will say the gameplay is actually really good as far as the combat, the combat action and the combat mechanics. They're really, to me, they're really good. But again, I'm a casual gamer, so take that as you will. But overall, I really enjoyed it.
Well, that's what matters.
I would love to see a follow-up to it, or maybe like, I know they did actually go back and add characters. They brought in I can't remember if Black Widow was an original character or if she was added after, like towards the end, right before release, and then they came back after the release and added Kate Bishop as Hawkeye. So, and you have to go through a specific mission to unlock her character.
Interesting.
But I would like to see more where the characters themselves are able to interact in combat. For example, like, in the movies and in some other, even in the Lego games, you see that, like, if Thor could throw his hammer at Cap's shield and, it would bounce off and go somewhere, or, Cap could throw his shield and Thor could hit it towards others, and same thing with Iron Man. And I would just like to see, see more combination between the characters, like interacting with each other, and especially in combat scenarios.
No, I do remember hearing that there was some groaning about the fact that they didn't have the licensing rights to use their actual, Avengers movie images. So they had like a generic Captain America and a generic.
Oh yeah, it's all very generic.
Yeah.
Characters, like, they try their best to make them, make the characters look like they're, the counterparts that we know.
Well, they couldn't.
I never read that though. I want to go back now. I'm gonna have to go back and read.
Oh yeah, that's the only thing I remember.
To see about what kind of like how do you create a game called Marvel's Avengers and not have the licensing worked out?
Well, and that's the thing is, I remember when it came out. That's the only thing I really remember is that they had obviously the licensing for the names and the characters, but not the actors. So they couldn't have a Robert Downey Jr., a Chris Hemsworth.
But still, if you look at that actor list, like, it has so many of like probably the top 10 male and female voice actors like in the industry. Like, it's people that like I know almost all of them.
That makes me wonder who the I want to go see who the cast was, because I totally didn't pay attention to the credits.
Yeah, it was like Troy Baker. I think Nolan North is in it. Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey. Like, I mean, they're all.
There was a
for good reason.
after credit scene though.
Interesting.
In true Marvel fashion, there was a post credit scene.
you got to have a post-credit scene that shows that you've arrived. So two good things, very good, Kenny. Brianna, what are you binging?
So mine's music this time because Kings of Leon is one of my favorite bands, and they came out with a new album probably like a week and a half ago called When You See Yourself. So been listening to that a lot. I like it a lot more than the one that came out before it. So that's good news. It has 11 songs, but also like they're very long, I think, for them. But yeah, like overall, I really like this album. And it's just classic Kings of Leon. They have some really good guitar hooks and stuff like that. So I like it a lot.
That is nice. I mean, I find it interesting. A lot of artists are releasing things without the benefit of being able to tour to promote them. So it's an interesting dynamic. They're putting things out. You just got to have a real strong social game. And
yeah, they just do it on like every platform. But yeah, like obviously, like I follow every Kings of Leon everywhere since I love them so much. So.
Well, that very cool. It's always good when your favorite band comes out with a project. I was talking a few weeks ago, probably a few months ago, time is standing still, about Idols, and I think they're doing like a European date because Europe figured out how to fight the virus, unlike some countries. But
we're getting there.
We are getting there. Way to go, America.
Yeah. Hey, our vaccine game seems weak, but there's some places that don't even have vaccines at all. So we're
very true.
Some people.
Yes, just America. Wear a mask, please. Just wear a mask.
Yeah, it's that simple.
It's not that hard. It's the least you can do for your country.
Captain America, wear a mask.
That's right.
It's not even for your country. It's for people in general.
For your grandmother.
I'm trying to sell it as a patriotic thing because that's the only thing that
they've tried that and it didn't work.
Yeah. You get an America flag mask and put it on your face so people know you love your country.
Just do it for grandma.
Yes, for grandma.
Mm-hmm. For grandma.
Logan, what have you been binging?
I guess one of the things I've been, I guess, kind of different than a TV or movies or anything lately is so I got a new app actually on my phone, and it's from an individual who, so I guess she's a personal trainer, but she's developed an app that has a whole bunch of kind of strength training and mobility and running type exercises that she kind of customizes and does for the individual people who sign up for it. The app and the website is called Run with Meg, and I kind of got to know her through a previous kind of startup app she was a part of that did audio guided running. So you would have I want to train for a 5K. So there would be, speed-based programs and interval training and recovery runs and long runs and different kind of stuff. And she has gone out on her own. And she was one of my favorite people to just listen to. It's like so many times I see the same thing with audiobooks. When you listen to an audiobook, you've got to like the author and the narrator. Yeah. So it's twice as hard to find a book on an audio platform. That's right. And this was that kind of thing. And she was one of my favorite just people to listen to kind of guide the running, really good just quotes and kind of inspiration and motivation as you're going, as well as explains the mechanics of running while you're running very clearly and very easily to be like, I'm hitting my heels. I'm not running on my midfoot. Okay, if I just, tweak this, I can run a little bit better. And you can feel it as you're doing it. And one of my goals / plans this year is to run at least a 50-kilometer race. So I am kind of taking this time to ramp up to that. I'm not that far away, but I need to, the world needs to open to have some of those races again. Or else I'm just going to have to run it on my own, which I don't particularly want to do, but I'll do if I have to. But with the weather turning nice and everything, it's time to kind of, double what I've been doing and do some more of it. And her app in particular has been pretty key for building the right level of, again, body strength, body mobility, and just general running fitness. I've just been loving it.
That sounds interesting. No, I'll definitely, look at that. Now I'm not a runner, and I'm an American, so I use the metric system here. 50 kilometers. What's that? Like 2 miles? Yeah.
About, what is it? 30.
Oh my gosh.
31 or 32.
Gotcha. No.
5K is 3 miles. So
31 and change.
30, yeah.
So it's essentially the shortest distance that qualifies for the ultra marathon moniker.
I've done a half marathon once, and that was so long. Like, to this day, I don't know how I ran that much at one time.
Yeah.
And Logan, weren't you used to run like these all terrain marathons, didn't you?
I've done a lot of trail based marathon and half marathons and 10Ks
That's
and
so
things like
hard.
that. It took, I want to say, so to the year right before everything shut down, I did a half marathon over a trail system that was like 6,000 or 7,000 feet of elevation over the course of that. It took about 4.5 hours, which is what some people can run just like a flat marathon a full marathon. Yeah. So I'm never going out to win. I'm going out to finish the race uninjured and to run consistently. If I can run 5 miles an hour the whole time and it's a steady 5 mile an hour pace, I'm thrilled. I don't really care. The consistency and the not being injured at the end of it are the only reason I'm out there, because I'm doing this more for health, for life, for being around for my great grandkids, not for, trying to win any kind of race. I am never going to pretend I'm an Olympian or any kind of an elite athlete. I'm average me who just wants to be around longer than my own father was. So that's my goal. And, I'm looking forward to kind of starting with this 50 kilometer. And, in a few years, if you're still listening, you get to hear what I'll be binging for planning for my 100-mile race.
Yes.
No, that's awesome. And you know what? A 4 hour run sounds amazing. I'm going to join you in doing a 4 hour watching of Zack Snyder's.
Right. Just start running at the beginning and just run.
Yeah.
I can listen to it while I'm running, and as long, you know what, you've got something.
The perfect plan.
I'll be there along with Julian and in spirit. So
now I can't commit to making the whole thing or not being injured, but I'm going to try. Try.
Well, then when I get to my 50-mile races, I'll just have to string all 3 extended Lord of the Rings together, and that's what I'll listen to. There you go.
There you go.
We've got this.
Exactly. Just remember, a sorcerer is a wizard without a hat. That's what they call a callback.
Need a victory.
I'll tell you what I've been binging, and every once in a while you come across something organically, and you are lucky enough to be far enough into it where they've already built up a little bit of a catalog so you can go back and binge it. And then coincidentally, right after you finish binging it, the next season is starting. So I reached one of those magical moments in time, and it is an animated series called Final Space. I don't know if anybody's heard of this.
No.
It blew me away because it's drawn. It was on Adult Swim and TBS as well. It has a great cast of voice actors. It has Conan O'Brien. It has Ron Funches. It has David Keith. He does. Keith David. Ron Perlman.
David Tennant.
This actually caught me so off guard. I'll give you the perfect comparison. If you were to take Futurama and BoJack Horseman and put them both together, this is what you would have. The animation is on a next level. It's better than anything you would see in the Family Guy, Futurama, or Rick and Morty. It has a little bit of that cynicism that Rick and Morty brings to the table. The main character, is, kind of almost like a Guardians of the Galaxy type of a thing. He's kind of a slacker. He was doing time as a janitor, a maintenance guy on a spaceship. And then he starts to go off on an adventure when he comes in contact with this lovely alien that he names Mooncake. And Mooncake is the most adorable thing you've ever seen drawn. And, but it just deals with all this space. And Logan, I think you would love it, just the sci-fi aspect of it. But I will tell you this, it has some dark, dramatic beats that you do not see coming. And if anybody's watched Rick and Morty, you know how sometimes it can take some introspective moments and kind of just pause and say, yeah, humanity is kind of this way. The meaning of life is kind of this way. And it's not all fun. Sometimes it's just sad. This hits on some really dark levels. And there's some not graphic violence, but violence and consequence. It's not Tom and Jerry violence. It's actually, scars over time. And that's another thing. A lot of these characters, they deal with time. And I love they have, instead of light speed, I think they call everything's kind of like a loose comparison to, some of the other sci-fi tropes. I think they called it like light fold instead of light speed or something like that. But in the ship they have, it's right, and I will put it right up there. I know this is going to set the internet on fire, but the design of the ship that they have, I would put it right up there with the Millennium Falcon in regards to recognizable, iconic ships, and the sound design and the score. It is so far beyond what I've ever seen in a let's just say a fun cartoon series. I mean, it's almost like if you were to blur the lines between a high level anime series and, like I said, Futurama. It's kind of like blurring the lines of that. And it has just fantastic score, really soft playing pianos, despondent chords, things like that.
Where did you watch it?
I caught it on HBO Max because they own what do you call it? TBS.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. So yeah, it's on
easy
TBS.
fix.
yes. Final Space, and it's just and also Jane Lynch is in it. She does an AI voice and she kills it, and a lot of amazing characters. Again, if you were to take, I guess 3 of them, I'd say Futurama, Rick and Morty, and BoJack Horseman, and you mix them all together, and it has just a lot of stuff, a lot of heart, I guess is the best way I'd say it. So go ahead and check that out. Be sure and check out all the things that we're binging. I'm going to put links in the description just to allow you to keep pace with us. And who knows, maybe we'll build an app, if or and write a book, and make a gaming console. You never know. I mean, we can do anything here. So anyway, this is all great stuff. And again,
I just added it to my my watch list on HBO Max.
Yeah, cool.
I'm telling you, and I want to get your thoughts on it. If maybe next week, anybody who sees it, just to give me your thoughts on it. I think you'll dig it.
Half-hour shows.
Yes, half-hour shows,
Okay.
and season 3 is starting at the end of this month. Like I think it's actually next week. So
Okay.
But again, Logan, I'm really only because I know you are such a fan of sound design. There are scenes that are pulled right out of Star Wars where they'll be like in a dire situation and their crew flies in and this light fold, that's what they call it, light fold, and it'll fly in on this just cool looking ship, and the sound design of that ship just gives you goosebumps, and you're like,
cool.
Yeah, again, it's a cartoon that looks way too cute for the subject matter that you're exposed to. So
I will check it out and let you know next time.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Well, everybody, we've reached that time. We got to get some end music that we can start playing. But again, love doing this show. Love bringing it to you. If you have any suggestions or recommendations on things you want us to discuss, review, debate, always up for the challenge. We want you to, of course, be well, take care of yourself, take care of one another. And as always, if it's worthwhile, it's worth binging.